Well, thanks to Cal for coming right after the game last night. I'll start with this. Normally when we do this, it's a little later in the year. You've now had more practices, a couple games. I'm ready to hear you say what you've said a lot recently. We stink. But what do you think about the team as of today?
We stink. But before, I got to talk about Nazi. You know, you asked the question, how did you last that long? Two things happened. You have talent, but you're a great teammate. That's how you last that long. Everyone wanted Nazi on the team. You just want him. I was there 1 year. Every day he was the first one in, ready to go to work, smile on his face. Not always smile on his face. I'm not going to go that way. He could be miserable too, but wanted to play basketball, but the ultimate teammate, which is why. Now, someone introduced Mark Krebs as the great Mark Krebs. What? I guess as time goes by, you just become better and better. Is that what happened?
Stay long enough.
We did. He was the only one when I brought in the dribble drive that when you put him in the game knew what I was trying to have the guys do. So that's why we came up with the Krebs effect. Like he would go in the game and we'd then finally run the offense the right way. But you know, I'm proud of you too, Mark, what you've been able to do with your career and what you're doing now and the family. So happy for you too.
So
what were we talking about?
We were talking about this team. So tell me about this group of guys. It seems to me to be one of, just as human beings, one of the best group you've had, the nicest kids.
No, it's my wife says it all the time. Like you don't think you're going to get a better group, and then you get a better group. And these kids are really together. They know they need each other. We don't have a Malik or De'Aaron, Anthony. We don't have one of those guys. But we have a bunch of really good players. They're all trying to figure out who they are. I think we're going to be fine, but right now it is what it looks like. It looks like a bunch of young guys. We played Moorhead. It became a 2-point game in the second half. I didn't call a timeout. Let me see what you have. If you're going to get beat, get beat. We got out-rebounded by Moorhead. They shot 49% from the floor. But we fought, so we found some stuff. And then we had a couple guys. I think Shea Alexander's way better than everybody thought, including me. Quad A, his ability to make baskets and score. It's more of that than run a team, what we need from him. You know, the other guys we're trying to help them define how they have to play for themselves and for our team.
I thought it was interesting last night in the postgame show when you said like 15 times, we stink, but then you said, I'm excited every day that I come to practice. Explain what you mean by that.
Well, I like coaching players that can play basketball. And the better they play, I like them really more. I just like coaching. And if you can't play, I like you, just not as much. So every day I'm walking in, we've got a bunch of really good kids who are good basketball players, who want to be coached. They're listening to everything I'm saying and our staff. So you better be right, because they're trying to do what we're saying, so now we got to make sure we're right. The second thing I tell them every day, I'll stop practice. Coach, be patient with us. I'm saying it to them. You say this to me. Be patient, coach. We're good guys. We want to listen. We want to get better. We just don't know anything. And I said, now say that to me, because I'm going to strangle somebody right now. But it's every day I walk in, it's okay, what combinations. I still don't know. I'm not convinced how we're going to play offensively. We go to a smaller lineup. Like our small lineup is 6'10", 6'8", 6'9", 6'6", 6'6". That's our small lineup. But we don't have any girth in that lineup. So now you're going to trap the post. How are we going to play? We pressed the first two games, and when I tell you, if you ask the players, they'll tell you, we worked 15 minutes on pressing. The reason we're pressing right now is it's conditioning. Just get up there and play. Now you got to run. trap, move, rotate. So they're doing it out of instinct, and I kind of like it. But at some point, we probably got to do it, like in practice. Like, okay, if we're going to press, let's practice it. But I'm excited where this team can be at the end of the year. When you're this long, this athletic, the biggest thing is the competitive spirit you need. They showed it when they got punched last night. I needed to see it. See, I told him the story, Will Smith. They asked Will Smith, the actor, what makes you different? How did you separate yourself as an actor from everybody else? How did you figure out, I got to stand out? And his comment was, I work at this. I mean, I really work at this. He said, I'm willing to die on the treadmill. Like, what do you mean? Well, if I get on the treadmill and there's another guy on the treadmill, there's one of two things happening. He's getting off first, or I'm going to die. I'm not getting off first. And that kind of, there's a ball. Either you're getting it or he's getting it. You get it. There's no excuse. I don't want to hear it. Last night, Moorhead got 4 straight offensive rebounds. Tipped it, missed it, grabbed it, missed it, tipped it, missed it, grabbed it in a foul. Correct? Come on. That's our team, not the other team. But we're just not there. And I think it's going to take us getting knocked in the head pretty good to where they understand I'm in a dogfight. There's a pack of dogs, and you throw a bone in there, one eats, the others don't eat. You got to get the bone. Let's go. Let's have that mentality. And so we're not there yet. I got a high school team plus 6 months. That's what I'm coaching.
You have used the phrase a lot about positionless basketball. If you look at this roster, with the exception of Quad A Green, you could easily not know who was who based on height. Do you like that? Do you like those options that gives you?
I do. And it's also, there's two things. We got to work on, and we have zone defense, which I hate. Let me tell you why I hate it. Everybody who says, you got to play zone. Well, no one is really responsible for anybody. If they score or get a rebound, I want to know who is responsible. Somebody's got to be responsible. In the zone, a lot of times, they can argue I had to slide, and it was him, and it came off a little bit to the – no. You and your man. Second thing, after they leave me, how much zone are they going to play?
0.
They're not playing any zone. Okay, so if I do care about them, yes, we play zone just to change up the game, to change what's going on, foul trouble, all those kind of things. But to play it 70% of the time, I don't think it's fair to the kids. That's just my opinion. I may be wrong. And I've been wrong before. I think it was 1978. Was it 77 or 78?
0, I was born.
Okay. But when you're that long, you can do different things.
You talked about just having that guy, the dog that goes gets the bone, and you've mentioned this team doesn't have like maybe a swag. Who's the guy? Who's the guy that needs to do that, to be the dog?
Well, you need them all to play that way. You need them hitting heads going for a ball or a rebound that goes out of bounds because 2 guys reached with 2 hands and they couldn't bring it in, and you say that is great. Not guy went after the ball with 1 hand and got shoved out of the way, and the guy grabs it and lays it in. So you're trying to teach all of them. It's kind of like somebody said, who's going to lead? Well, my job is to teach them all what it means to lead. All 12, 13 this year. We've got like 14 guys, 3 of them one is my son and 2 walk-ons too. So, but teaching those kids how to lead, which means serve, which means be about the other guy more than yourself, which means you're about helping everybody else be successful. And if we can get each player playing that way, we're going to be really good. Last night we only had 11 turnovers. Incredible. In a game that fast, 11 turnovers. For a young team like this, there was a good sign. Teaching them to play rougher. If two guys are playing that way and three aren't, it doesn't work. If you have one leader, just one, and you're counting on him to do everything, what if he gets hurt? What if he starts playing bad? What if he gets selfish? You got a problem now. In our way of doing it is, okay, you step back, let these two guys step up. So we're trying to teach them all that, and they get along really well. They like each other, but I think they know they need each other. Like, this is going to be one of those years you can't count on Malik to go get 47 points or De'Aaron Fox to go get 39. It's not going to be that. It's going to be we're going to have to beat them. Please listen. The scores are going to be closer this year. Don't say, what's wrong with the Cats? They only won by 14. Stop. They only won by 8. What's happening? Something's wrong with these guys. The games are going to be closer. And that's why if we're tougher, if we've got a bunch of servant leaders, if we figure out the best way for this team to play, that is what excites me, that we've got things we can do that they can get better at. I cannot teach them this, how to be really long, how to be 7 foot tall. I can't teach that. So we got some things going that I can't teach.
I sat in this room 9 years ago when you did the first one of these. I think I emceed your second one. And I've watched you develop with the fan base over the years. And I've told stories at this event about your interactions with the fan base. But I want to ask you, what has this sort of interacting with and being a part of the Big Blue Nation, what's it been like over these 9 years? And is it at all different than when you looked and said, that's the place I want to be? Has it been different than what you thought it would be after all of this?
Well, until you sit in the chair that Coach Rupp developed, I don't think you really get it, what it means to the state, until you sit there. You cheat the position, in my opinion, if you don't leverage it for good for other stuff. If you don't leverage it for the state, and for last night's game, we raised $500,000 playing Moorhead for charity, doing telethons, being involved in the community, you cheat the position. But he created a position. It took him 40 years. Now, you do know this is dog years when you coach here, right? So I'm at year 57. I'm starting my 57th year. But what he did out of nothing, out of absolutely nothing, he created a culture that lives on today. 5 different coaches have won national titles here. It's nowhere else has that happened. The most anywhere else is 2. So basically, if you want a chance as a head coach to win a national title, get this job. And you got a chance. The other side of it is, you know, you hear about the fan base, but the fans here, most of you grew up like I did. I'm from Western PA. That might as well be East Kentucky. The hills, the rolling hills, the hollows, everybody, did anybody lock a door growing up? You ever call somebody when you went over the house, or you just went over? Did the village kind of raise us? You get hit in the head by your neighbor's dad for doing, he whacked you. What? I mean, we kind of all grew up the same way. I don't feel out of place. I mean, I look at how generous. And again, I mentioned this last night. We did a telethon. We did the game. That's $1.5 million raised for all these the hurricanes, the forest fires, all the stuff that's gone on. Puerto Rico. So, I'm not saying that for applause. Here's what I'm saying it for. How many people do we have in our state? 4 million. We raised a basketball program, a little basketball program in this state of generous people with big hearts, raised $1.5 million. It's crazy. We've done it, 3 different times that we saw something and we said, let's get involved in this and do it. They're generous. They pay it forward. They're about their children. It's how I grew up. I look at what we've been able to do. You all are like Steeler fans. They're nuts. They're nuts. Let me tell you, I went to a Steelers Super Bowl in Detroit. against Seattle, the whole building was yellow, gold. It was Steeler fans. Sound familiar? Anywhere I go and bring this team, I walk in an arena at Mississippi, and there's 6,000 Kentucky fans at Mississippi. We go to New York. We go to Chicago. How you get the tickets, I don't know. But you get the tickets. And I think that's part of the reason. Like, I don't read. Can I tell you, he's going to get mad at me. I don't listen to their stuff. I really don't. I've listened to his show, and I wrote in with Kenny Payne and Chris Woolard. Are you guys here? Where are those guys? Give Kenny Payne a hand. Doing a great job. Chris Woolard. So we're leaving to recruit after I'm done here, so we're going to go to a plane. So Chris Woolard drove Kenny and I down here, and I'm in Chris Woolard's car. And I listened to his show for the first time in my life.
Today wasn't a good day to pick.
And there was, like, he's screaming. I'm like, what, this is what he does every day? And I said this. Ask Kenny Payne. And people listen, and they get high ratings. He's screaming at some guy, what's your name? What's your name?
Oh, that's not what you heard, is that part?
Yeah.
No.
Poor Murray.
Of all the places you heard.
Murray!
I'm like, these two knuckleheads. And people listen to this? But here's what I would say. I don't listen to the radio. I don't read the local newspaper. How many of you follow me on Twitter? If you respond, I've never looked at it. How many of you follow me on Facebook? If you respond, I've never read it. I have a web page. Everything we do is to give information out. I don't need to know that you think I should be playing more zone or someone else should be playing. I'm not into that. But you know what? I don't have to, because I know you care about this program so deeply that you don't have an agenda to hurt anybody. So I don't have to read it. You have your opinion. You're wrong, but you have your opinion. And I respect it. I respect it. I just don't look at it. I mean, think about coaching here. If I was looking at the internet every day and I was worried about what the fans were saying, could you coach here? You couldn't coach here. You can't. All I'm trying to do is the best job I can for these kids. And then if I love on them, they'll love on each other. And if they love on each other and they're talented, we will win. Bottom line, that's what I do. My other thing is, my team can't get better unless individual players get better. So when I'm looking at each player when I walk in, is he getting better or not? Am I the reason he's not getting better? Do I have to change? Do I need to use him different? I go back to Scow. I tried to coach Scow like I did Anthony Davis, DeMarcus Cousins, Nerlens, Karl Towns, and I tried to coach Scow the same way. Guess what? I needed a different lesson plan. He was not ready for the things that we taught, and you know what? He needed to be played a little different. He's in the NBA playing better than he played for us. Now, to be an all-star, all the stuff we were trying to teach him, he's going to have to grasp. The other stuff. But what he could do, I could have used him better. Now, good news is he got drafted. He's in the NBA, and that's one of our failures. You hear what I'm saying? Well, not everybody. You're right. Scout didn't make it. He's 28th, and he'll get a second contract. He'll be worth $100 million too. But that's a failure. What about Andrew Harrison? Well, he's in Memphis right now, and they're loving him. And
starting.
He's a failure. So it's all relative to what we're trying to do and how we're trying to help these kids. I will say this. Be remiss if I didn't. Dr. Capilouto talks about student first. He's rebuilt the. How many of you have been back on this campus? I mean, if you haven't been, go to campus. You will not even know where you are. It's a totally $3 billion. How much are we spending? What is it on new buildings or building? $3 billion or something? What is it, Doctor?
2.4.
We got to be exact here. $2.4 billion. You have Mitch Barnhart about athletes first, and Matthew's right. He probably knows more about the volleyball team than he does my team, okay? He's really into football. He's telling you stats and who ran and where we should have thrown it and all that stuff. But let me say this. Our soccer teams have a new stadium. Our softball teams have a new stadium. Our baseball team is building a new stadium. Our track has had a new stadium. And I got the same crappy practice facility. He spent $190 million in football. $190 million. And I'm over there, and it's hot, it's cold, when the water doesn't work. But let me say that I'm just teasing. He knows I'm just teasing. But my point being, it's not just about one group of kids. What's happened on our campus, the test scores have skyrocketed. The applications skyrocketed. Enrollment skyrocketed. We're still taking those in-state grade student scholarships for kids across this country. We're hitting all 50 states and 100. It's all good stuff happening, and I'm going to tell you why. It's all centered on we're trying to do right by the kids. If that changes, Kentucky will go down the tubes. As long as we're all about these kids, because that's why we all have jobs. How do we take care of them? How do we make it better? And not just for one group. Like me in my little corner of the world, I'm also coaching my son. And I sleep with his mom. I got to do right by him, too, and he's not a starter taking all the shots. But I got to coach him like he's a starter in practice. All these injuries, all of a sudden, Brad's on the court every moment. And you know what? He's getting better. He's not going to be better than some of the guys I have on the team, but he personally is getting better. And this experience for him, when it's done, he's going to feel fulfilled, which is what it should be for all of us.
Last thing I want to say, and this is true about Matthew too, the UK baseball game where they beat NC State to go to the Super Regional last year. It was a real neat moment to me for UK athletics. There was a big rain delay. Game ends up starting late at night. It's almost midnight. They start to play again, and I look up, and this is what people need to know was happening at that moment. At that moment, I look in the stands, and offensive coordinator Eddie Gran and Mitch Barnhart and other coaches are literally cleaning the stands, the water off for fans to be able to sit. Out in right field, John Calipari is standing with me, cold, pacing, but nervous and calling every pitch when they should throw a curveball, fastball,
no
etc.
way.
Yes, he was. Matthew Mitchell is in the stands waving a towel. There was a really special Big Blue Nation moment that this culture has created that I don't think people realize, and I know you're a part of that. It really is special, and I personally, as a fan, want to thank you, Mitch Barnhart, everyone for that. Everybody give a round of applause for John Calipari.
Thanks, folks.